question.
I had something, Stuart, in a kind of a carryover from what you spoke about duality on Thursday.
Yes.
The illusion of duality, anyway. So many say this prayer, God help me, like fundamental prayer. It kind of reeks of duality. Why do we get lost in that ego-based
I
separation?
don't understand the problem. You know, there's nothing wrong with asking for help to grow in your life. There's nothing wrong with asking for help to get over the situations that are difficult to you in your life. You're asking God. You know, you're not asking your neighbor next door, you know, who then you got to drag all their energy out of them. You're going to God and asking for help. And, you know, they say in the Bible, ask and you will receive. So I don't see any, you know, I don't see any contradiction in this or any duality in this. It's simply asking for what your needs are to grow spiritually. You know, if you sit around and ask constantly for money and for the, I mean, that's another bullshit thing, you know? But if you're asking for help to grow spiritually, I mean, there's no contradiction in this. There's no duality. You're asking the universe, please make it possible for me to get closer to God. What's wrong with that? I don't see any problems here. You know, don't manufacture them. There are no problems here. We have every right to ask. You have every right to ask me. I'm supposed to be a spiritual guide, and you have every right to ask questions. I mean, I'm not interested in getting into people's underwear, you know, or all their garbage and stuff. I'm not interested in that. But if there are real questions about your spiritual growth, you have every right to come and ask them. I mean, that's what I'm here for, you know? I'm supposed to be a spiritual guide. I mean, I guess I am based on what I do. I don't know. I mean, I do what I do. So you have every right to ask, but not, you know, to create. I'm not interested in you working out your economic problems and, you know, your gender problems, your whatever problems people have today. I'm not interested. But when it comes to what can I do to develop myself to get closer to God, you know, you got me 1,000%. So I don't find that to be in any way contradictory, asking God to help me. Better to ask God than, you know, somebody that's going to give you false advice. Everybody has an opinion about everything. Look what goes on with this COVID nonsense, you know. There's about 8 billion of different opinions about this, you know, and everybody's in opposition to everybody else. And then it becomes crazy, you know, it gets crazy. But to ask God for help to grow spiritually, please do. Please, I beg you, do that. Nothing wrong with that.
Ultimately, we're not separate, though.
No, nobody's separate. The only reason we're separate from God is because we have this crazy mind that creates the borders and the boundaries and, you know, creates all the logistics of what the mind thinks life is supposed to. That separates us from being one with everything. That's where the separation is. You know, to get answers on how to overcome that separation is essential. It's essential because everybody lives with it. And what creates the borders and the boundaries is the mind. I know better. I am. And of course, it goes, that knowing better goes only one place, right to the grave. You know, there's no transcendence, there's no connection with spirit, there's no, it goes right to the grave. And then another incarnation of knowing better until one finally lets go of it and begins to understand. You got to listen to the universe, get your answers from God, from the universe. And even my job is not to give you answers. My job is to just build the people that study here, get them strong enough so they can get direct answers from a higher source in the universe. That's my job. My job isn't to give answers because there's a number of people sitting here and one answer will be different. You give an answer and everybody's going to interpret it differently. My job is to help people develop a chakra system in themselves so that they can truly go to the fountainhead and get real answers for their lives. That's my job. Not a bad job, but it really is not a job of providing answers to quandaries that people find themselves living with. Those answers you'll get if you build a system in yourself that enables you to get to a higher place. And then all those answers come. Organically, they come.
Thank you. That was very important. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. But there's no conflict between wanting higher energy to provide you with a path to enlightenment. No conflict. Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask?
Stuart. Go ahead.
That's Paula.
Sorry.
The evening wouldn't be complete if I didn't get a question from you and from Wendy.
Sorry. In your book, Leah, my question is about judgment. As you were working on healing her, you said you couldn't judge either of them. You had to love them both completely. And the innocent 13-year-old is one thing, but then the mother who her behavior, I don't want to judge, but I would have judged. I found it incredibly hard. And it was very humbling.
Frankly, when I went through that, it was hard to see. But, in the middle of it all, the mother changed, from a state of complete hopelessness to making juices, believing. We went to some healer, in the Northwest, and she changed and she was working very hard. She really changed in the middle of it. I even talk about that in the book, the changes that she went.
Yes.
But it's not for me to judge. It's all learning from God, how not to have expectations from anybody. Rudy told me this. I was walking on the lawn in Big Indian with him, and he said to me, Stuart, you never serve people. You serve God. If you're going to serve people, you will spend your life being endlessly disappointed. Your expectations will never be met. And I never forgot that. And I watched him not serving people, but serving the God in people, helping them to build chakra systems so they could have their connection with spirit. That was one of the great teachings he gave me. And boy, I'm telling you, with all the bullshit I've been through in my life, it saved me a lot more bullshit. Just that little teaching, walking on the lawn of Big Indian when he told me that. The two of us had been clearing a forest up on a hill there because he wanted to plant an apple orchard there. So we started a fire and, we were dragging trees down the mountain. And then he told me this. We're walking to have lunch and he said, don't ever serve. Because I asked him, I said, Rudy, the place was like a lunatic asylum, Big Indian. The people there, You know, I mean, it was a crazy place. And I said, Rudy, what about all these people? And he said, Stuart, you will be here in 20 years. None of these people will be in 20 years. You never serve people, you serve God. It's the only constant in the world.
Wow.
It's exactly what happened. All those people just vanished.
That's so profound. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very profound. And I'm still here, you know, after all this stuff and nonsense and people, you know, I've been through it. Here I am because I understand how profound this is. And I understand a very wonderful Jewish proverb. You can save one life in your lifetime. You know, the gates of heaven will open up to you. And that life has to begin with one's own. And if you're going to save your own life, you have to overcome all of the expectations and all the bullshit that the world puts in your way. And that one teaching from Rudy, just, I mean, that stayed with me. Man, I'll never forget that. It was so profound. It really went so deeply inside me.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Stuart.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question?
What I was going to ask you to talk about.
You have to speak up, Wendy. I can barely hear you.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. What I was going to ask before, and thanks for what you just said, because that was really helpful. You speak about this a lot. However, really transcending physical pain, going to a higher frequency. Would you speak on that again?
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone has it. I have it. As highly evolved as I am, supposedly I have physical pain I have to deal with every day. I've had it, you know, I had an operation a year and a half ago and I still have physical pain from that operation, you know, but you go above it. You understand? I've discovered that pain has a frequency and you can use it as a way of going deeper in yourself, touching a higher force of energy in yourself that allows you to transcend the pain. And then you stop feeding it with your mind and the pain will diminish. It won't completely go away, but it will diminish and it'll become bearable. And it's an exercise I've used, I mean, it must be 30 years now to deal with pain because everybody has pain. Raise your hand if you have no pain, okay? You know, everybody has pain. And we need to learn how to go above the levels of pain that we have in ourselves. We have emotional pain, we have psychological pain, we have physical pain, we have all kinds of pain. And our work is about, again, for the billionth time, building an inner life that is strong enough to help us transcend the pain, to go above the pain, to be able to detach ourselves from pain. And you know how strong you get inside yourself if you can detach yourself from the pain? You have to be really focused and centered, first of all, in the chakra below the navel, and then the ability to draw the human through the sexual area, you know, and transform it into energy of Kundalini that will burn up a good deal of that pain. This is very important because everybody has this. I mean, look at, you know, the medical profession in this country is a $1 billion profession, and it's all about pain, right? Everybody with pain is going to doctors to get, and people are on uppers and downers and opioids and all kinds of crap that they take just to reduce pain inside them. But nobody teaches them that there really is a chakra system that can help them get strong enough inside to be able to deal with the pain and not get sucked into the pain. And that is such an important part of this work. I mean, I remember Rudy had pain, you know, it used to amaze me going into his gallery and he would tell me all the pain that he was in. And I would see him working in himself to transform the pain into a spiritual life. So I think this is a really important subject as well. And I don't know another way of dealing with this. I mean, you can take opioids if you want. You can, smoke marijuana or that other stuff, that CB, whatever it is. And all right, it'll calm the pain, but that it's not going to solve the problem. And the problem is not being strong enough to detach oneself and not being strong enough to use pain, as a vehicle through which you can grow and connect with God. And this everybody has, I mean, I once wrote in some book somewhere that suffering is the perfect democracy. There's nobody in the world that doesn't suffer from one thing or another. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? So use this meditation to build the kind of system I'm talking about so that you can master the pain, detach from it, and learn how to use it to grow and get closer to God. Because everybody has it, for God's sake. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, so, just a reminder that tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, I will send out an invite to all of you for the interview that Daniel and I are going to be doing, and about my book, Navigating the, I won't say it in Portuguese because I don't know it in Portuguese, Navigating the River of Time. And you're all invited. I hope you can come. I hope you tell friends, people that might be interested. I would like to get a group there, that really shows a great deal of interest in somehow finding, maybe from that book, a way to have a spiritual life. That's why that book was written. That book was written principally, my whole idea was if this crazy kid in that book can do it, anybody in the world can do it. I mean, that was really the underlying premise for that book, talking about myself in my early 20s and what I was like and living in Paris and Morocco and all kinds of places, and Mexico. This crazy kid could have amounted to something in life. Anybody could learn this. The underlying premise of that book. So hopefully it might find people that are willing to learn something, and willing to take the time and the energy to truly learn how to master themselves, to get the training that is so essential in learning how to master the chaos that exists in just about everybody. So God bless you all. There'll be a class tomorrow evening, and I'm looking forward to it. And in all humility, thanks. I mean, being here brings out amazing stuff. And I'm just very grateful to all of you, for being part of this and coming here and doing this work. Bless you all. Have a wonderful evening. And I will see everybody tomorrow.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stuart. Night.
Thank
Night.
you.
Good.